What is up, guys? It is your boy Jay coming at you with part two of a special two-part series episode within our own Cinema Theorists about Spider-Man and all the new movies and the old ones that have come out. I've got my co-host with me, Chantel, the most with the host.
That is me.
I'm trying out different types of names. We'll see how it goes. We, on our last episode, which for you, if you're listening to this, came out literally like 2 days ago, we talked about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. We talked about the recently announced part one of two, ironically, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, the second movie called Across the Spider-Verse. And if you haven't listened to that and you're just skipping ahead, that's totally fine. We're not doing them in order, out of order. Go listen to that one if you want to know about the newer stuff that we talked about that had just been announced this week.
Yep.
So we're going to get into this one. We're going to talk about Andrew Garfield. We're going to talk about Tom Holland's stuff. And we are going to get into the first Into the Spider-Verse movie because it wouldn't be a podcast episode without it. We're not going to talk about Venom because we've already talked about Venom on the Venom episode a couple weeks or 2 months back. I don't want to ever talk about that movie ever again, so we're not going to.
Yeah, we're good on that.
All right. I'm going to set the stage. All right, ready? 2011 or 2010. Sony Pictures. They end up tweeting out a pic. They tweet out Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire is set to come out 2011, May 6th. Then, a couple months later, Sam Raimi gets into some heated arguments with them because they want to meddle with his movie again, and he ain't taking that shit lying down. So he says, fuck y'all, I ain't doing it. So he leaves, and then they go, okay, well, if he's leaving, Tobey Maguire's leaving, which means we gotta get some fresh blood in here. You know what I'm saying? They probably don't sound like this because they're white, old, bald executives. So, well, actually, no, that's not true. One of them is a woman who's just a bitch. Anyway, in comes Andrew Garfield and a different version of Spider-Man. One that's less campy, that's a bit more serious, looks more edgy, coming off the heels of the successful Dark Knight movies, and takes place after Iron Man and the MCU have started up. So they want to make it different. They want to make it stand out because people love Spider-Man. They want to figure out a way to make this Spider-Man better than the last one. And for the most part, they succeeded. We got to know a little more about, Peter's parents beforehand. And, they casted a younger Aunt May and Uncle Ben because they looked more like his grandparents in the first iteration than this. And get this, the kids actually look a little bit more believable as high school students than the last group.
Absolutely.
And this one came out in July of 2012. I know because I watched it opening night.
Yep.
And it has something that looks very vaguely like a lizard.
Vaguely.
Take it away. I think I've introduced it pretty well.
Yeah. It's everything you said. To be quite honest, I was a little bit more excited about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Second foray into the genre. Different person portraying Spider-Man. I don't like how they did Gwen Stacy, as opposed to keeping it with Mary Jane. But I mean, I kind of see where they were going. But I honestly feel like you said what?
Can I interject on that one?
Yeah.
Opinions are opinions, and all opinions are valid. That being said, I know a little bit with the comics that Gwen was actually in comics his first girlfriend, and MJ was there to help pick up the pieces when Gwen died.
Right, for sure.
And Gwen was MJ was originally going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about.
Right. I only
day.
say that because again, it's a movie, and everybody is coming off of, excuse me, the Sam Raimi movies, and they're like, okay, I guess it was like to be so different that they was going to introduce Gwen Stacy, but I
Well,
loved Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man. Go ahead.
they wanted to, they were trying to be different than that one, and I understood that from the get go. It's like, okay, so they're gonna do a different love interest to kind of, push them, like, distance themselves from people thinking that this is just another, like, redo of the first Spider-Man movies. But,
Right.
to add things differently, have a different villain, you know, we didn't even, no, I'm gonna cut myself off there because I'm sticking to talking about just this one right this moment. We will get into the other one, I promise.
For sure.
That was me talking to myself.
No, I dig it. I dig it. Um, but all in all, man, I loved, like I say, Andrew Garfield's.
You can go ahead and start your thought again.
Oh, more or less, I was saying that I feel like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man portrayal, with the writing and everything like that, I felt like he was definitely a smarter Spider-Man. I felt like he was more edgy, but of course, what you and I were talking about as far as like all the pressure from the Dark Knight trilogy and the MCU starting, and Sony is like, hey, we got Spider-Man, so we about to make Spider-Man dope. Like, not necessarily to forget the Sam Raimi verse, but it was like this is a new Spider-Man, and I was excited, and I was even more excited when I found out that the villain was gonna be Lizard, because of course, me being a comic book fan and to be able to see all of my childhood favorites like on the big screen was like amazing. I wasn't too disappointed with this movie. Um, I felt like it was a really really well put together movie.
So, I completely forgot. Like, while you were talking, I completely forgot there was something I didn't even mention about the Sam Raimi movies that we didn't even talk about. And the fact is, and I can't. Fuck. What was I gonna say? Damn it. I can't remember. I'll probably figure it out. I'll come back to it. There was something about the Sam Raimis that we didn't even talk about, and anyway. Um, no, I'm gonna have to have you keep going because I got to think about this. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, damn, talking about slipping your mind, I forget what her name is. Let me see. Let me go back to it.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, but I mean, okay, so I know mentioned, them introducing Gwen Stacy, but Emma Stone, like I loved Emma Stone. I could even see Emma Stone have playing Mary Jane. I think that would have been dope, dope as fuck. But again, of course, they was going in a different direction. I feel like it's just exactly what you said. I feel like the kids in this movie were more like high school kids as opposed to the Sam Raimi movies. And I honestly feel like the guy who played, um, the guy who played the lizard was damn near spot on.
Right, because they did have a Dr. Connors in the original ones, and they never went anywhere with it.
Right. It was kind of like a
Which,
foreshadowing.
which I actually think that if they had continued with Tobey Maguire, he probably would have ended up becoming the Lizard in the fourth film.
Of course. Of course. And that's the parts that I like. I know we're done talking about Sam Raimi verse, but that was like dope. That was like peppering in to like this is what could potentially happen if these movies wouldn't have sucked at part three.
Now, okay, there's one thing about this movie. Like, the Lizard was an okay villain. He wasn't like the worst villain they've had. Um, he was pretty somewhat fleshed out, except for the part where he just decided to be like, "I'm gonna change everyone into lizards," blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. The one thing that I really liked about this film, though, is the fact. Oh, You know what? Pause. I remember what I was going to say. We didn't even get into the fact that the Sam Raimi ones did something that not even the comics had ever done, and that was give Spider-Man organic webs, not webs like shooters.
Right.
This one finally went back to web shooters. And there are people out there who had never read the comics, went and saw this movie and said, why does he have web shooters? Aren't they organic? And Benedict, I'm like, no. That was never even a comics thing. And they went, that's stupid. He's got
Right.
powers of spiders, right? I'm like, right. Do you see him? If it was a comic accurate spider, he'd be shooting it out of his ass, not his fucking
Out of
web.
his own. Right. Right. Out of a spinneret.
But okay. There's one thing I'll say with the Amazing Spider-Man movie that they just never really got from me. Maybe it's just because I was older when I saw this one, but like the scenes with him swinging around the city, I thought were way better in this than they were in the Spider-Man movies.
In the Sam Raimi movies?
Yeah,
Of course. Of
because
course.
they started using like like the idea of a CGI camera that's like in first person of him shooting, and it's like, dude, that is awesome.
Right.
Which is why I like 4DX so much, because you feel like you're swinging around, and every time you get punched, you feel like you're actually getting punched.
In the back and all that. Yeah, that shit is dope.
Or a web shoots by you and you hear it go past your ear.
Right. But yeah, I
But
think I think I think it was
yeah,
dope. Um, the suit, I think the suit was an upgrade.
the first suit was rough.
Right.
Also, the fact that they went around they paid homage to the first one with him falling into a wrestling ring, but it wasn't actually, he became the name Spider-Man with that.
Right.
And I think what helped is the chemistry between him and Gwen Stacy was way better in this one than the original trilogy. They didn't give much character depth to, Mary Jane in the first Sam Raimi's, but this
Right.
one they actually gave Gwen Stacy this character development and wasn't just some damsel in distress that Spider-Man had to save at every turn and point. Which was nice because also she doesn't scream very much in this, which is great because my ears started hurting after about 3 movies of Kristen Dunst going, ah.
Right.
And it also
Yeah.
helps the fact that both Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone at the time were actually dating, so there was actual chemistry.
Oh wow, I had no idea of that.
Yeah, sadly, after Amazing Spider-Man 2, they both were so busy and they just broke up, and I was like, oh, that sucks.
Gotcha. Sure. Something
Now,
something that I just found out. I didn't know that the Social Network movie came out before the Amazing Spider-Man movie. The Social
yeah,
Network came out in 2010,
2010.
and this movie came out in 2012. I thought this came out before the Social Network.
So when I found out that they were making this guy who I'd never heard of, Spider-Man, and I
Right.
heard he was in Social Network, I went and watched it, and I said, I don't really, I don't really see it, but like, I'll give him a shot. He's not, because this is back in the time when I was like, so many, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movie was the best Spider-Man, and you can never top it. And personally, I don't know if I can say this. Neither the first Amazing Spider-Man or the second one will ever be able to top the second Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi trilogy. But I almost want to say, and this is going to be a really controversial opinion that I've gained over the years, I think as far as two films go, these two films were better two films than the three Spider-Man films.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. So
I
you're
like
saying that?
I
Go
liked
ahead.
where the direction for this franchise went than the
As opposed to Sam
franchise before.
Raimi's.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I did that.
Now,
I
I will
agree.
say I probably don't rate either one of these as much as the other one, but the story potential and the chemistry and acting it could have gone further up for me.
How would you feel if Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 was Andrew Garfield in that movie?
Mm, I don't know. I don't know if you've. I don't know how to really answer that one necessarily. But I wonder if you know, and I know we're not talking about Sam Raimi anymore, but because we're talking about the second one specifically, there was a point where Tobey Maguire hurt his back really badly before the starting of the Spider-Man 2 movie,
Hmm.
which is where that little nice reference that when he's like, "Ow, my back" in the second one, that's kind of a joke to it. They were going to replace him with Jake Gyllenhaal before he got healed.
Holy moly, no way.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I can see it, but
that's how Jake Gyllenhaal ended up in a Spider-Man movie.
nice.
But back to this one. So, of course, we had to watch Uncle Ben die for a second time. Um, and we didn't even get the line that we get from the Spider-Man comics. Great power comes great
Great
responsibility.
power,
We got
great
something
response.
else that I don't even remember what the hell he said in the first place. Do
Right.
you?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Um, let's see here. Oh, and James Horner's musical score in this was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
no
I agree.
it's no Danny Elfman, we didn't get the whole opening credits like we did with the original ones, but you know what? I missed the old ones, but I like the music for this one. It's grown on me.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this, James Horner, this was his last film that he scored before he died.
Wow, really?
He died in 2015 from an aircraft accident.
Oh no, that's sad.
This movie had a lot of people who died after this movie. I wonder why.
The curse of the Spider-Man movies.
Uh, a production designer called J. Michael Riva and one of the producers, Laura Ziskin, who produced the first three Spider-Man films as well, both died in 2012 before this movie came out and 2011. And the production designer, Michael Riva, his last movie was Django Unchained, and Ziskin's last movie was The Butler, which was released in 2013.
Wow, Django. Shout out to Django. That shit was dope.
Now, let me ask you a question. So this movie came out in 3D, IMAX 3D when it came out. Did you watch it in IMAX 3D or did you just watch it normal?
Oh no, I was definitely on the 3D wave. I watched it in 3D.
I saw it in IMAX 3D and that shit was dope.
Right.
Oh, wait, hold up. It was released in the United States 10 years after Spider-Man 1. Interesting.
But the
You know
Amazing
what?
Spider-Man?
Yeah, after the first like Sam Raimi Spider-Man, this was 10 years later. And then the sequel came out in 2014, about a month before the 10-year anniversary of the second one from the Sam Raimi trilogy.
Oh damn.
That's crazy. Now, um, there's a lot of things about this movie that weren't great, including the underdeveloped storylines that came in this. There was a bunch of them. We
Like
didn't see
what?
Norman Osborn in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, we didn't see. There was actually a lot of deleted scenes that they took out that would have made this storyline better. There was scenes where you got to see Kurt Connors with his family that we never even saw in this beforehand.
Wow.
Um, and it actually made less money than they were hoping for. It only made 758 million, which is still a lot, but not for them. Oh man, Dennis Leary was pretty good in this too.
Yeah. And it still managed to make a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, they had to understand that was about 100 million less than what the last Spider-Man movie had made. But since it was a new actor, they had to kind of figure more
Right.
about that. Um, they had better stunting in this too. Like like he like with the SWAT team or whatever, he like did all those stunts and stuff.
Right.
They actually got stunt coordinators for this and Olympic Games gymnasts.
But yeah, I like Dennis Leary though.
Yeah, I don't remember what I'd seen him in before this. I don't think I saw too much of it.
I know the last thing I saw him in is Animal Kingdom, the TV show.
What was he in? Animal?
Animal Kingdom.
Hmm.
It's a dope show that come on TNT about these brothers, like whole life of crime type shit. And he was one of the brothers' father.
Well, that's crazy. What did it say here? Okay, so this doesn't really tell me much. How much did it make opening? Wow, that's wait, that's not possible. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to see how much this movie made opening weekend, but it's not telling me.
Let's
Hmm.
see.
Yeah, see, on this podcast, we do our research while we're recording the podcast because we roll. That's how we roll.
That's how we roll, man. Got to keep it funky.
Let's see here. Box office opening weekend for the original one. It made its opening weekend. It only made 62 million,
On a budget of what?
230 million.
Jesus.
Yeah, people didn't. I mean, it came out July 3rd, which was a Tuesday at the time, and it's five. Well, hold up. Okay, so if we're gonna go with opening weekend, like actual, its first weekend, it had made a total of 137 million over like 6 or 7 days, which
Okay.
isn't terrible.
Right.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
still,
it's
it
second.
still made enough for a sequel.
Yeah, the sequel I think made more money. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It was way worse received. Um, we'll get that in actually in just a minute here. But regarding the villain, regarding the CGI, they're trying to make this movie more gritty and edgy than the first one, which was more campy and comic-y. Um, given this portrayal of Peter Parker, things like that, and your enjoyment of the movie, what do you think you could honestly give this as a rating?
Are we doing out of 10 or out of 100?
Since we're now in the 2012 ones, we're going to go out of 10.
Okay. Excuse me. Let me see. I'm trying to remember my excitement. Um, I'll still say I'll give it about a 7, maybe 7.5 to be fair.
That's decent.
Yeah, I didn't
Um,
leave the theater like oh my god, like I gotta see this shit again. Because I
Now,
honestly only saw this like one time in the theater.
did you stay for the after credits scene?
Of course.
And it's like some shadowy figure talking to Connors while he's in
Mm-hmm.
jail. Which,
Mm-hmm.
before we move on, okay, I'll give my rating, but then we're going to talk about the fact of the lizard. Um, I would say when I saw it and got out of it, I definitely was excited to see another one. And I liked this portrayal of the character. Um, but I don't know if I could give it anything more than a 7.8.
Right.
Just because I gave what Spider-Man 1 of the Raimi series an 8. I couldn't give this higher than that.
Right, for sure.
But Lizard, we've seen the trailers. We know he's in it. We know he's in the new Spider-Man movie. Again,
But we don't know
questions
how
that will
much
not be,
though.
huh?
But we don't know how much though.
Well, we know he's in the last battle at most.
At most, for sure.
Point being, if all of these villains are coming because they all died because of Spider-Man by battling him, like Sandman, Connors turned back into himself, was put in
Yep.
prison. Why why is Doctor Strange lying to us?
Right.
Obviously he knows enough to know that a lot of them died, but they didn't die. Or is that because we're going to hear more about them after the movies that we've seen these characters in? Hopefully. Again, can't be answered until that day.
Right.
And I swear to God, if they don't answer some of these questions, I'm gonna have some issues. I need these
Um,
questions answered.
at least it's Marvel and Sony, so it might be answered.
Well, it's Marvel taking over for the screenplay, the script. All that Sony's doing is helping pay some of the budget and marketing the movies, which they've already been doing a shit job with.
Right.
Exhibit A, B, and C up on the screen when you see it, and D. Um, but we're gonna get into what is considered, to a lot of people, the worst Spider-Man film. Um, that had so
even
much
worse,
potential.
even worse than Sam Raimi 3.
A lot of people hated it worse than that one. Sam Raimi 3 still managed to get a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. This one did not.
For sure. Let's
Amazing.
pause real quick. Let's pause real quick. What did you think about the post credit scene in Amazing Spider-Man 1?
I thought, okay, so they're obviously going to build to a Sinister Six.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got confirmed with, trailers that just showed the entire Spider-Man 2 movie.
Gotcha.
That's really all I can say about it.
No. I agree.
Because, I mean, we still didn't know who that character was that just showed up out of nowhere.
Right.
I'm like, am I supposed to be excited for this character? I don't know him. I know Lizard. Oh, he's in a jail cell. Corral. Wow. Great. But moving into the second one, I'm going to set the scene for this one, too.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I forgot. Let me check to see when the first teaser came out, because that's when I have to really go into it. Let's see. The teaser trailer came out December 5th, 2013. Okay. It's December 5th, 2013. The first trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, showing a face-off between a comic accurate looking Spider-Man, who has been doing this for a while, because that's how you do it in New York. And then
New
you
York.
got Jamie Foxx coming in as Electro. You see him in his normal form, and he looks like a total nerd, bitch. Anyway, we get to see him. We get to see a brief glimpse of Harry Osborn. Finally, they're bringing him back into the fold, except he looks like a complete douche.
Douchebag.
And then you got Norman Osborn just sitting in a bed, going, "Bleh, I guess he's about to die or something. Who knows? Guess we ain't gonna see that Green Goblin." We gotta see some Gwen Stacy. You know what I'm saying? She a good girlfriend on him. And that's pretty much how that goes. So let's see, 2013. How old was I? Fuck. I'm gonna let you give some thoughts while I figure out how old I was.
um, when of course I knew part two was coming out, but I got like super excited when I found out that Jamie Foxx was going to be in this movie and he was going to be Electro. But then when I saw how they was going to portray Electro, I was like, oh my god, no way.
You weren't happy.
I wasn't happy at all. I already knew the caliber of actor that Jamie Foxx is, so that's when I got excited. But then, like I say, when I saw how they was portraying him, I was like, oh no. Um, in the first freaking thing that pissed me off about this movie was Rhino. Like, again, another dope freaking character that you guys could have done, but you just put a small sized man into a mechanized robot. Like, it's just a waste of putting a character in a freaking movie, which was stupid.
Right.
And I felt like um, Electro, as bad as he was underutilized. He was more or less like a pawn, which was stupid because that's not how the movie was marketed as. I thought like he was going to be like the big bad villain in the movie, Turned out that it wasn't. It legitimately disappointed me.
All right, so I'm gonna get back into my thing because I figured out how old I was. Okay, 15-year-old me saw this trailer, not having seen a single IMAX movie for Spider-Man because I have to correct myself. I did not see the first Amazing Spider-Man in IMAX, but I
Uh-oh.
did see this one in IMAX 3D. And before I even get to that, I was like, "Oh, this looks dope. Why the hell is Electro blue? I know he's yellow in the comics. He looks like a fucking. This must have been hard to green screen because blue would just be hard to do."
Right,
Um, but they have the whole menacing line he makes when he's like trapped in that like water cell thing, and I was like, "Yo, Jamie Foxx is gonna kill this role, bro."
right,
What I didn't realize is he was gonna kill the role that he had. But unfortunately, the way that they put it in there was going to kill the movie and the franchise all in one fell swoop.
right.
But there was so much excitement for me when this came out. This is before I could even drive, and when the movie came out, I was like, "Hey, yo, ma, I know it's Mother's Day, but I need you to drive me to the movies. You can go see whatever movie you want to go see, some rom com or whatever. I'll pay for
Happy
that,
Mother's Day.
and I'm gonna go see Spider-Man 2 in IMAX." And I actually saw the Spider-Man 2 in IMAX at Northlake
Wow.
before the good seats came in there. And I never was like, there was never a dull moment in that movie for me when it first came out. And damn it, if I can't say that did not bawl and not get pissed off with everyone else. Like, bro, you just killed Gwen Stacy, you motherfuckers. How dare you? And it's not even the fact that you killed Gwen Stacy with Green Goblin. It's the fact that you killed her with that terrible imitation of Green Goblin.
Yes.
That was the only thing good about that Green Goblin sequence was when he got the venom injected into himself and he started like getting like these close-up shots of his body contouring and stuff like a body horror thing, and I was like, that's cool. Wish I would have seen a little more of that
Right.
to see how much pain he was going through, because at that point we all realized how much pain we were having to deal with because of this movie. And I say that, but I do like this movie after the fact. It's just not a great movie. It's like Resident Evil for me at this point.
To be quite honest, man, I've only seen this movie like twice,
I
and
actually
that's to
saw it.
be fair.
So I liked this movie so much when I first watched it, right? That I used to live in like Davidson, and there was this little tiny college theater that was like 4 screens, like a mile and a
Mhm.
half, 2 miles from my house. So one day my mom's out doing stuff and I have money. And I'm like, I really want to see this movie again. So I walked 2 miles from my house to the theater
Oh
when it was
wow.
like 100 degrees outside to go watch this movie again. And then when I walked back after watching, I was like, that was a really good movie. And then I got chased about 4 blocks by someone's stupid chihuahua.
Oh no.
And then I got home, I was like, that was a good movie. That was worth getting chased by a chihuahua. Now,
Oh my God.
I'm going to tell you something I bet you didn't know.
All right.
Um, there is, or okay, there is an extended cut of Amazing Spider-Man 2 that was going to be like, originally, it was like, how the first one was like 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Mhm.
which was pretty long, but not long enough for everything that they had. Right.
Right.
So I can't remember exactly what it was. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, but there was an extended version of this that people wanted released that would have like added like Mary Jane into this, because Mary Jane was originally, they filmed scenes for that. Um, like they had Cheyenne Woodley was going to be Mary Jane. Um,
Oh yeah, Woodley.
yeah, she was in the garbage. Um, damn, what's the Divergent series.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, she might have been a good Mary Jane though.
Yeah, I'm still. There would have been that. There would have been another Peter Gwen scene, alternate scene, an attack on Oscorp by Green Goblin because he attacked Oscorp after the fact, and then extended Times Square and Clock Tower scenes. I think that it would have been, if I remember correct. Oh yeah, and Felicia or Felicity.
Felicity.
Um, yeah, we were gonna see more of her like stuff towards Black Cat because remember they were gonna set up Sinister Six movie with this,
Yeah, they like legit
and
showed like everything.
and let's see here. Oh, there was a scene in the trailer that had an exchange between Harry and his father where they discuss Peter. And a later scene where Harry reveals to his old friend that they've been keeping surveillance on him. Um, that would have been like, you know, they know that he's Spider-Man type of deal.
Right.
Um, like there could have been more scenes with Max before he became, you know, a villain that could have made us a little more sympathetic instead of just some crazy fan. This like the movie itself probably would have been around 170 minutes if they had kept everything in.
Oh wow.
Which would have been a long movie, but it probably would have made it a better film.
Right.
And then there was that cut, that extended scene that was deleted, where Peter's dad was proven to be alive, which would have it's probably best they cut that out because that would have been like what?
Right. Undermine a whole lot of stuff.
Well, also, was his dad got like did his dad get a spider bite too that managed to make him like die from a plane crash? Also, why
Right.
didn't he come back? Is only coming come back because of the fact that both of the Oscorps are dead or in jail? Oh, that too. There was a deleted scene where, and I know I'm ranting and I'm saying a lot, but this is a lot of stuff that I remember. That they had a scene where in that little like that uh, Sector 7 or whatever they called it with like the Doc Ock arms and Vulture and all that,
Hmm.
they had one of those vaults that had Harry Osborn, or no, sorry, Norman Osborn's head frozen for him to come back in the next film.
What?
I mean, you don't get a character, you don't get an actor like Chris Cooper and have him like in one scene for a movie.
Right.
It could have that. This is why I feel like this franchise could have gone soaring into the heights, way better and gotten way bigger than anything else, and yet we never got it. Speaking of, real quick, there's actually an extended cut of Amazing Spider-Man that would have been 160 minutes long.
Damn.
Yeah.
Do you have that on Voodoo?
No, no, like it's a version someone fan made.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they changed things with it. Let's see, what did they do? Oh, I don't know. It looks weird. Anyway, I would have loved to seen this franchise. This is what makes me kind of wish that if this movie with Spider-Man No Way Home does well, Sony like says, "Hey, we're gonna bring Sam Raimi back. He's gonna do one more Spider-Man the way he wanted to with Tobey Maguire. We're gonna get Mark Webb back. We're gonna let him do one more of his and make it like more of a Spider-Verse type of deal, live action, like separated but connected type of thing."
I highly doubt that'll happen.
I wish it would. Although I feel like if Tobey Maguire does show up in this one, I have some feeling that they're gonna kill off one of the three. And I think it's gonna be Toby if he does show up.
Yeah, maybe one will go back, the other one will die.
I gotta stay here to make sure that the key fob glitch thing works. Nah. Either that
maybe,
or Tobey
maybe,
Maguire could, or maybe Tobey Maguire could show up as Spider-Man in the next Doctor Strange.
maybe,
Who knows?
maybe, maybe Andrew Garfield one is gonna die when he's trying to save Mary Jane, and he does something to like save her, and he end up falling and dying.
Maybe.
Try to redeem himself, but also take himself out of the series type shit.
Oh, and I will say I was wrong. All those deleted scenes that we were talking about for the second movie would have only made it about 2 hours and 35 minutes, which is still longer than the movie itself. But
Right.
hey, at least we're getting a 2.5 hour Spider-Man movie from the get-go.
Hmm.
Okay,
It was a
so
meme.
what?
I was about to say it was a meme I saw that more or less said some shit like Spider-Man 3 had all of the villains in the movie failed. And it said like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man saying like we had all of our villains in the movie failed. And then excuse me, beneath that it had Tom Holland and said, "Oh well, yeah, we're doing the same thing," and some shit like that. I'm gonna see if I can find it and send it to you.
So I'm gonna put it out there. This tells you how much I've had Spider-Man on the brain recently. A couple nights ago, I was sleeping and I was having this dream as if like I was watching Spider-Man 3 happening and like different parts that I had read that could have been rumored I was having going on in my head. And then I woke up and I'm like, damn it. I hope I didn't just have some premonition of what this movie's actually going to be.
What was it?
Like Spider-Man was at like, he was hiding from the police. He was at like a feast shelter or something. And then he finds Green Goblin in the feast shelter and like, he's running from him or whatever. And then it cut like how dreams work. They kind of cut and you don't really see like what happens between one thing and another. And then it
Right.
just shows like Green Goblin's like in this hideout with all the other villains and they're like waiting for Doc Ock to show up because they're like, we got one more coming through, but he's not going to be on our side, so we're going to kill him. And then I woke up and I was like, damn it. Why the hell am I thinking about Spider-Man No Way Home? I'm trying to tell myself not to think about it, and yet my dreams are interrupting it.
Right.
So I'm gonna put this in here while you're looking that up. Um, so Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was overstuffed, had too much that they were trying to push because, and this is for any audience that doesn't know about this, they they were hoping for they were hoping for an Amazing Spider-Man 3, which was going to come out in June of 2016, 2 years later. Um, and then they were going to do a fourth one that was going to come out in 2018. So they were already ready to do two more. And in between this movie and the second one, they were going to come out, or sorry, between this one and the third one, or no, sorry, they were going to make a Sinister Six Part 1, which I didn't even know there was just a Part 1 on it. That would have been a 2016, like November release. Then they asked someone else to do a female led film with Black Cat from Amazing Spider Man 2 for a script. And then they announced another spin off based off of Spider Man 2099 that was going to be released in 2017, which I also didn't know about. So you see, they were having so many things they wanted to set up in this one film that ultimately might have been it was his failure, basically.
Ambitious and greedy.
It is. But you know what? It's fun because guess what? We got Tom Holland. We got Spider-Man in the MCU because of
Oh yeah.
this. I mean, they're still making their spin-off films, but you know, they're existing alongside of the ones that are successfully. If it wasn't for the successful financialness of, and yes, financialness is not an actual word, but whatever. Of the
We do what we
MCU
want here.
Spider-Man, huh?
I said we do what we want here.
Whatever I say on my podcast, our podcast, it goes.
It goes.
But because of their deal with, Marvel, they had the money to finance these movies, even if they did suck or were not good.
Right.
But that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Piggybacking off that, I say and will always say Sony will be stupid to ever pull Spider-Man Tom Holland out of the MCU.
That's why I was actually kind of worried about Tom Holland's interviews. He actually got me. I feel like we've talked about this though. Have we?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, if we haven't, Tom Holland had made an interview or answered an interview question a while back, like way back, like before the second one came out, where he's like, I hope they let me play Spider-Man for as long as they want me to."
Hmm.
And then they did an interview recently where he's like, "This is like a bittersweet film, like the end of a franchise. You know, if I'm playing Spider-Man by the time I'm 30, I've done something wrong." And it's like, what have you guys done to Tom Holland to make him hate playing Spider-Man? I'm feeling vibes of like James Bond, Daniel Craig levels here. And then it's like, yeah, we're gonna make 3 more movies with him in it. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And it's like, you bastard, you've we trusted you to spoil things, and you have turned against us. You've become the very thing that we did not expect you to become.
Right.
You've
He didn't got in trouble
become,
too much.
yeah, but I mean, how often was it like? I mean, there's certain things that he definitely spoiled without it, but come on, how many times do you really think that Sony just kind of pushed him, like said, "Hey, do this for us. We know people know you're a spoiler, so go ahead and do this."
Right. Man, I
Now,
can't find this fucking meme no more.
I will say, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 made less money than the first one did by like a good 40 million. It only made 709 million, which again, a lot of money, but for them, uh, not good.
Right.
It made $91 million opening weekend.
Damn.
It made as much opening weekend as Captain America: Winter Soldier and Guardians.
Wow.
I know that because all three of those came out in 2014. Which I'm gonna type something else because I'm pretty sure, and I hate to say this, I'm pretty sure Days of Future Past, which came out the same year, actually made more money than them.
Really?
Days of Future Past made 46 million more dollars than Spider-Man 2,
Damn.
and
But you know what though? Days of Future Past was actually pretty fucking dope though.
and might I just add, um, it opened up with oh, okay, sorry, it opened up with 110 million.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Days of Future Past is probably I don't know we're not even gonna get into Fox, but they did well with X-Men First Class, and they did amazing with this one, and then they just went fucking downhill, except for Wolverine and Logan. They went downhill. They got
They just didn't
greedy.
give a fuck anymore.
X-Men Days of Future Past, I know we're not really on that, but it got an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, which was the first X-Men to do that.
The thing that stick out to me all the time about X-Men is when they I forgot the actor's name, but he was like, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and like ran through the door, the wall.
That was dumb. But yeah, what given everything that has happened within Amazing Spider-Man 2, what do you think you would give it?
mm, I would say maybe a 5.5 to 6.
So, with the excitement that I felt watching that movie, plus the fact that I think there were parts of Electro's thing that actually were good, and I hate to say it, his character was not well written, but neither was the Lizard, and I enjoyed him in this more than I enjoyed the Lizard.
Gotcha.
And the fact that the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield was spot on again. I like the fact that he was kind of trying to struggle with the fact that, he kept seeing her dad's ghost every time he was trying to be with her. Um, and the web slinging, the suit, the music was great. I loved Hans Zimmer in his score in this.
Yeah.
I'd have to give this movie like an 8.5.
Oh, wow.
I would have given it higher. The problem is though, and I hate to say it. Well, actually, I don't hate to say it. If they hadn't fucking killed off Gwen Stacy and made me so angry in that theater, I would have given it probably about an 8.8, which is a lot better than what I would have given it like in the past. In the past, this movie never got anything above a 4.
See,
But that was when I wasn't educated in movies or edumacated in my stance.
to backtrack, we was talking about the lizard not necessarily dying, and he just went to jail, but also Electro didn't necessarily die. His energy just dispersed, and he's like was like still out there. So he didn't necessarily die though.
I mean, he did explode.
Right.
It'll take him a while to get back to a form, which okay. I'm gonna put it out there because I sent you one of the posters, which I will be putting up on the screen here in about 2 seconds. Um, and I'm doing that for like the video and stuff. Uh, the poster with him for the new Spider-Man movie, he has an arc reactor on his chest.
Mm-hmm. And they're speculating that since he's got the art reactor, that's what's actually making him yellow to where he can control his powers a little bit better.
Well, also I had read that it was the fact that that's what's keeping him from looking like a Blue Man group character and more like
Right. That's what I
human.
was just saying. Right.
Although funny how he decides to change his look from nerdy looking dude to a badass dude. He's like, who's not like, I'm gonna steal your lunch money to I'm a cap you fool.
Right. With a comb over.
Yeah, and weird teeth. Which we're not even getting into the fact that I'm sorry, but electric powers and electric eels biting you is not gonna fix your gap in your teeth. Not something that wide.
Right.
Okay. But we've managed to cover the 5 movies of Spider-Man that have come out in the past. I don't think we're gonna go into as much detail with it. We're gonna more gloss over, not really gloss over, but we're gonna just talk about Tom Holland's portrayal as Spider-Man so far. Because he did do Captain America, he did Spider-Man, Homecoming, Far From Home, uh, Infinity War, Endgame. He wasn't in it that much, but he was in it enough. So we're gonna kind of more like gloss over the ones that's not solo films, since we're not covering team up films, since neither of the other two actually had them. Right? That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna briefly talk about when he got casted and how my reactions were.
Right.
Um, so back in 2014, I believe it was, or it was early 2015. Um, you know, it was up in the air about Spider-Man, what was going to happen to him, and there was reports that maybe they were trying to make a deal or whatever. Um, and basically, there was an article. Like I was up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and um, listen, sorry, but anyway, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep, and I just go through an article like on like comicbook.com, and I see a thing that says Spider-Man will officially join the MCU, and I gotta tell you, I held as much as I could without screaming because my mother was in the next room over. I was like, yeah, yeah, dude, he's gonna be in the MCU. That's gonna be awesome. Finally, Sony, you could suck my lovely criticisms, man. And I was so happy for it, dude. Like I was crazy. Um,
Yeah.
and then there was a whole thing up in the air about are they gonna show him in the Civil War trailers? Are they not gonna show him? What's the deal there? And it's like they didn't show him at all except for the last trailer where he's holding Captain's shield, which I saw when I got home from work or from school, and I was like, oh my god, that suit doesn't look that fantastic. I'm gonna be quite honest. But Spider-Man is holding Captain America's shield. Oh my goodness, bro. I think they did a really good job when they
Hell
introduced
yeah.
him.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree.
I think okay, so I'm gonna put this out here. When I saw him in Civil War for the limited amount of time he was on screen, I told people this immediately after. I was like, he was only on screen for 15 minutes, and I think that he did a better job playing Peter Parker and Spider-Man in those like 15 to 20 minutes than either of the last two did
I
in
agree.
their entire tenure. Now, that's where I get into the Spider-Man movies. We know they have Vulture in the first one,
Which was fucking
and
dope,
and they had that amazing twist of him being like, his crush's father, and that was crazy. Michael Keaton's awesome in it.
of course.
Um, we get to see him as like this little low life kind of like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Which is kind of what you wanted to see, except the fact that Tony Stark was his mentor. He made his suit, and I was like, okay, I guess. I mean, it's cool to see a new Spider-Man, but like, this isn't really a Spider-Man film. It's kind of like a Avengers point five,
Right.
half of an Avengers film. Not any of the people, but
Right.
a coming of
Like
age
kind of
story,
building off of it. Yeah.
and I will say it's a pretty high Spider-Man movie in my opinion. It's just not like compared to the other ones, it's not a Spider-Man film in terms of like we hardly see any web slinging because he's in Queens. He doesn't really go into New York City and swing around, so we don't really get to see any of that swinging action. Um, it is nice that he has friends that know who he is, though.
Hmm.
And when I first saw it, MJ wasn't a huge fan of that
Really?
choice. MJ
Zendaya?
is a redhead in the comics, and
Right, for sure.
I'm not saying this as a racist or anything like that, but
She's white.
generally speaking, she was always a white ginger in the comics. Uh,
Right.
you know, and we had just gotten off of Gwen Stacy, and I was like, I kind of wanted Gwen Stacy to be his first love interest again, and in fact, we didn't even see any of the Oscorp people in this. We haven't even seen Oscorp or any of the Osborns yet in this entire franchise for him that
Right.
have been in this world specifically. But
I agree.
like, you know, I thought it was good. I think that it had a lot of good funny moments, and it was nice to see him go from between you know a little mystery trying to figure out how to stop somebody that's selling illegal weapons. We got to see the Prowler, well, not the
Yep.
Prowler, but like the uncle, nod to Miles Morales. And
Aaron.
it was a wholesome film. It was um a nice filler movie between that and Infinity War.
Right. I agree.
It was a solid start to a new Spider-Man.
Right.
And
I mean,
then huh?
I know. I was just about to say, like, the more and more and more I see of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, the more like I'm digging it. Like, I love part one. I love part two. Excuse me. I will say, it hasn't been something I was like, oh my God, I gotta go back and see this. And to be quite honest, Spider-Man 1, I was so busy when it came out that I damn near missed it in the movie theater. Like by the time I saw it, it was like in a regular digital format, like theater.
I mean,
But
that's kind of crazy considering we actually saw Guardians. This was the same year we first met, and we saw Guardians 2 in theaters. But you didn't see it for like 3 weeks after it came out, which was crazy because it was still in IMAX when we finally saw it.
yeah, I don't know what it was I was doing. But
What?
yeah, I damn near missed Spider-Man Homecoming.
I'm having a small time, hard time hearing you.
Oh, my bad. Can you hear me now?
I did hear you say something about Spider-Man being kind of hard to see it when it came out.
Oh, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, no, I was just reiterating that. Like I say, I almost missed it. If I'm not mistaken, I damn near caught like the last showing of Spider-Man being in the movie theater. Um, But like I said, I was like super busy. I don't remember what I was doing, but I loved it nonetheless. And I've watched it maybe like two, three times after that. Thanks to you, of course. You got Voodoo. And then, of course, I saw Spider-Man Far From Home. I saw that in the theater like two, three times.
Now
I see.
we're gonna quickly pause because I am speeding through some of these. What Without going into much detail with Spider-Man Homecoming, considering it did come out not that long ago, technically speaking, and most people that are listening to this will have seen it at least once since it came out. What would you have rated it?
Off sheer excitement, I would say like an eight.
I would have given it about an 8.3.
Yeah,
Um, but and you know what? I didn't even go into any fanfare with that one either. But that's
right.
also because the trailer was kind of garbage because Sony.
Of course.
Because they used Demi Lovato's like confident or something for the thing. And I was like, what the fuck kind of choice is this for a song? This is Spider-Man, not some teen pop funk crap. Like, damn.
Right.
Now, I will say, I'm gonna get back into my trailer voice for this next one. Spider-Man Homecoming came out, did really good, got people excited. Then Infinity War came out. Spider-Man died like a little punk bitch. I'm kidding. Not kind of. I don't know.
I don't
I don't
feel
know where I
so
was going with
good,
that.
Mr. Stark.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. I'm sorry. Which would have been, which I will admit, made me cry in the theater. I'm like, why am I crying? They stupidly announced that he was getting a sequel next year. Why am I
Right.
crying?
So,
He's going to be back, but still
right.
hurt. And then Endgame comes out. What a sad and depressing movie that ended up being. And then to cheer everyone up from everyone dying, here's Spider-Man Far From Home with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, the guy with the fishbowl on his head. That sounded really stupid. And then they released the trailer, and I went, that's actually kind of badass. Now, is he going to be a villain, or is he actually going to be a hero from a different universe? Who knows? And then you get halfway into the film and you go, yeah, they've already defeated the threat, and there's still another, like, 2/3 of this movie left. He's definitely a villain. Like, I don't think someone could have played a maniacal, like, bipolar man that's that unstable like Jake Gyllenhaal can, considering he did Nightcrawler,
Right. Which was
which
fucking dope.
that man needs an Oscar.
Yeah, it was dope.
Um,
Sidebar. Have you seen the Jake Gyllenhaal movie on Netflix? Like where he's
I,
like a police dispatcher.
I have not.
That movie is pretty dope too.
Um,
It's like minimal too. Like it's dope. You should check it out.
well, okay, so since we're gonna talk about that real quick, Benedict Cumberbatch's new movie that came out on Netflix just came out today.
Really?
It's like a Western, kind of, but like it's something that has already been said that he could get an Oscar nomination for.
Oh shit! I might have to check it out tomorrow.
I may have to check it out as well at some point. Um, but anyway, so it Spider-Man Far From Home did a lot of things that helped it because of the fact that it came right after Endgame, which by the way, uh Sony they may have made a mistake by announcing another Spider-Man film so far before Endgame, considering the events of Infinity War.
Right.
But their marketing was not terrible because they although to be fair, I'm pretty sure that Marvel was probably like, listen here, you little shits, we're taking over your marketing for this. We're not gonna have you spoil shit before this
Right.
movie comes out. And like it was so that was actually the first midnight showing I ever went to.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, so they had it come out like it was coming out the same weekend as I think 4th of July, because it came out July 2nd. And they had a
Hmm.
July 1st showing at 12:01 a.m. midnight, which I ended up going to.
Nice.
and then I saw it again the second time the next day, like the same day. And then I saw the movie a total of 5 or 6 times in theaters,
I think I've
including
seen it like 2 or 3 times.
my last time that I saw it in theaters was when I saw it in 4DX, the first 4DX movie I ever watched, and it blew my mind. I was like, this is a completely different film now. I mean, with a post-credit scene, with 2 post-credit scenes like that, dude.
Right.
I mean, Peter Parker getting his identity completely known to the entire world has in movies never happened before.
Right.
Especially when they tell you that he's a murderer.
That was bold of them.
Dude, like when that ended, the first time I watched it, like the entire theater that I was in was like, what? Holy shit. Well, they were more excited about the fact that J.K. Simmons was back as J. Jonah Jameson. It was like,
Hell yeah.
oh my
Me too.
God. Oh my God. And then, the scrolls show up at the end. You're like, so it wasn't even them the entire time. Yeah, it was crazy. The only
No,
thing I
I
disliked,
enjoyed it though.
the only thing I disliked about this film, though, was, I mean, I like the fact they were going away from like New York and all that, but at the same time, that was also like one of the flaws. I'm like, there's not a lot of places he can just go swinging around in here. Like,
Right.
I want to see Spider-Man in his home turf dealing with the villains on his own home turf. I don't want to see him going to other countries and stuff. We can do that with Avenger movies. We don't need to do that with his own movies. Which is why I'm really excited for No Way Home, because I'm pretty sure most of it takes place in New York.
Of course.
And
But I
then
was
I don't,
stoked.
huh?
Oh no, I was about to say, but I was stoked though. You were saying like, you know, when you heard about part two, you were talking about Mysterio and the fishbowl. Like again, I'm like I grew up on this shit. So like Mysterio, I'm not gonna say he was one of my favorite characters growing up, but I dug Mysterio. Like I was big into like collecting like baseball cards and like the comic book cards and shit. And like some of the comic book cards I had like for Mysterio was super fucking dope. So when I found out that Mysterio was going to be the villain, again, my whole thing is when the MCU came out, like their characters are so damn near comic book perfect, comic book accurate to their suits. And I was like, man, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Mysterio. And they
They
didn't
killed it.
disappoint at all, right? They didn't disappoint at all. Shit was
Which is
dope.
something that I actually kind of went over or glossed over with the first Spider-Man film, is that Vulture's costume in the comics is pretty stupid, and they managed to make it look. I mean,
Pretty
obviously it
fucking
wasn't
dope.
it wasn't comic accurate, but like it didn't need to be because there's certain comic book accurate things that should not be in
Right.
live action because they don't translate well. So they made a version that looked like like from pieces that he got while stealing all this equipment. So he made his own costume. He used the fur jacket as like kind of like a thing. So it was
Like
cool.
a flight jacket, right? That shit was dope.
And the wings were awesome.
Right. Even the visor that he had, that had like the green, like more or less like eyes, but they were like the little, like the HUD display. That shit was dope. I think the way they did it was perfect.
So let's see here. Um I'm looking at the box office for Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So, how I told you the first one had made like 117 million opening weekend?
Hmm.
So the second one actually only opened up from the 3-day weekend, only opened up with 92 million.
Oh wow.
But remember, it also came out literally, um, it came out on a Tuesday.
Right.
So with its 5-day opening from when it came out to then, was 185 million,
Okay. What was the budget?
160 million.
Oh, okay.
Which again, the amount of I mean, granted, there's some CGI I feel like is probably not so great in there, but I don't really. It's not bad enough that I pay attention to it every time I watch it. But like a lot of the CGI, like Mysterio's whole like sequence when he's like trying to scare Peter into killing him and telling him who was the people he told, that was
Right.
dope. That was straight out of a
Hell yeah.
comic book.
Right.
Like it looked so good.
Yeah, shit was dope as fuck.
Now I will tell you, uh, as far as Spider-Man movies go, Spider-Man Far From Home made the most money out of all Spider-Man films.
Of course.
It made $1.1 billion total.
Jeez. And that's foreign and domestic.
Yeah, foreign made about 740 million.
Gosh.
Like
Yeah.
I'd almost say, as far as like, I would say that I'd put this movie probably right behind Spider-Man 2 as terms of like best Spider-Man films.
Okay.
Like Spider-Man 1 doesn't even get to this close. But
Right.
I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks that'll change.
Right. I was about to say like that's just for right now because No
Now,
Way Home hasn't came out yet.
let me ask you. When it comes to ranking Spider-Man films, do you consider live action and ranking the animated one that came out differently? Or do you can still consider that as like within the ranks of the other ones?
I mean, I guess I'm biased because I would say I wouldn't include it in the live action. Uh, and the reason why I say that is because with the animated movie, you could do like way more shit than you can in a live action movie. Not only can you do more shit, but you can get away with a lot more shit. Um,
Right.
I honestly feel like Into the Spider Verse is its very own fucking genre, and it was dope as fuck.
Now, I want to tell you something with that that might blow your mind.
Hmm.
Given the fact that it's animated and given the fact that it looks as good as it does, what would you consider its budget probably being?
Shit, I have no idea about 90 million.
Well, damn, you hit it spot on.
Yeah, man.
Which is the thing that irritates me. This movie had $90 million budget and it looked that good, and yet Encanto had $120 million budget and it didn't look nearly as cool or good as this one.
It
But
was
that's
two
because I'm
different art
biased.
styles, though.
Okay, you're right. Sorry. Um, Obviously it can't be Frozen though, because I mean Frozen's budget was like $150 million. But okay, so
And it was fucking frozen.
Frozen 2 was 20 million or 30 million more, and it looked leagues ahead of Encanto. I will
Word.
never stop shitting on that movie. I can shit on Frozen probably more. And Frozen, we're not talking about Frozen. I'm not even getting into that bullshit. Um, so we're gonna get into the last one, unless. Oh no, sorry, we didn't give ratings on the Spider-Man and Far From Home.
I'll probably give Far From Home a solid 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna give Far From Home a solid 9.5.
Okay.
Dude, Mysterio was like, aside from the fact that that was a Tony Stark angry person who hated Tony Stark and became a villain, he didn't want to have to kill Peter
Right, for
at
sure.
first. And Jake Gyllenhaal just he serves every role. Like he spits fire every single time that he does a role.
Right, I agree.
But into our last and final Spider-Man movie that we are going to get into here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
But yeah.
I'm gonna let you start off though.
I touched on it a little bit earlier. Like first and foremost, it's a I'm gonna put air quotes. It's a black Spider-Man. Like first, you can't go wrong there at all.
Black Latino at that.
Right, black Latino at that. So like little black kids, little Spanish kids, like everywhere is like going bananas. When this came out, and then to have a movie, and like I say, Shamik Moore, like his voice portraying the character is super fucking dope. Um, the whole like art direction. Like that movie is cold, bro. I think I watched that movie way more times than I did Far From Home or that shit is dope.
So I'm gonna tell you something funny. When I way after this movie had finally been out of theaters and on DVD, I forced my grandma sometimes to watch movies that are animated that I thought are really good.
Mhm.
And I was like, "It's a Spider-Man movie," and then we got into it, and she got confused pretty quickly. She's like, "It's not Peter Parker."
That's Miles
She
Morales.
she enjoyed the film, mind you. She just thought it was a lot. I am sad though. That movie did not make nearly as much money as I'd hoped it would.
Really? How much did it make?
It only made about 340 million,
Wow.
which is still better for considering the budget, but I
Right.
was hoping that this would be like the first animated movie that would be like a superhero animated movie to make like 700. But I guarantee the next one will make like probably twice as much as this one.
Of course, because everybody know what to expect. Well, not necessarily know what to expect, but of course
I don't
is
think
is
we
riding the wave of the first one.
I think us as superhero fans can never know what to expect when it comes to superhero movies anymore these days.
Right.
Because we either have really amazing, like mind blowing movies, or we end up having movies like Venom 2.
But no, that's not fair because it's a fucking Sony movie.
Okay, well that's like saying um that we didn't know what to expect with Wonder Woman 1984 either.
Ah, fair, fair.
And that's a
'Cause
DC movie.
right, I thought that shit was gonna be way better than what it was.
Didn't everybody? But I'd never heard of Shamik Moore. I'd heard of Mahershala Ali. Um Bryce Tyree Henry, I think is I probably got that wrong, but he played his dad. Um Catherine Hahn was in this too, before she even became Agatha Harkness.
Right.
Um I don't know, it was just nice to see a different universe with Spider-Man and not getting the same origin story for like a third time.
Right.
'Cause we didn't even go into that. They skipped over all of Spider-Man, its origin stories with the MCU, except they are going back to it when they do the animated series,
Yeah.
which is
And
fine.
right, we talked about that too. Like that was one of the main things I loved about the MCU Spider-Man because especially at this point we already know who Spider-Man is. We don't need another origin story. We don't need to see him get bit by a spider just because he's Spider-Man.
Right, right. Now, originally, I don't know if you knew this. Originally, they were trying to get Tom Holland to come and do like a voice cameo, as his version of Spider-Man into it, and they're like, no, that wouldn't even make sense.
Right.
But then they were gonna get Tobey Maguire originally was gonna be Peter B. Parker's character, and then it was gonna be like this is Sam Raimi's version, and it was gonna be like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then apparently Venom was supposed to be in this event at one point with
Really?
Tom Hardy.
You talking about part one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then they decided against it, which was probably for the better. It would have
Of
probably
course.
dragged the movie down a bit because it's
Right.
not about them.
At all.
Besides, they say anyone can be Spider-Man. No, that's not true. Doc Ock can't be Spider-Man.
Nah.
Well, he can be in the comics, but that's different.
Now I will say this. We was talking about Wilson Fisk. Like the way they
Right.
portrayed Kingpin in Into the Spider-Verse was dope as fuck.
Which is the way that the only anime can really or animated can do. They cannot
Of
if
course.
they try doing that in live action, it's gonna look stupid, and I really hope they
Right,
don't
right,
do it from what I've
right.
been hearing. But yeah, what a great movie. I
Hell yeah.
saw it, huh?
I know I was about to say hell yeah, like the voice acting, Nicolas Cage and like all that shit was dope.
That might have been one of Nicolas Cage's most tame roles in the past 10 years.
Of course.
Probably his most successful role too.
In the
Can't
last
complain.
10 years, yes, that's for sure.
But like, I saw this movie like with someone who was a Spider-Man fan, and they had no idea that his uncle was actually the Prowler. So when that came
Yep.
up, and they're like, oh my gosh, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, noob, you think you're a Spider-Man fan? You're not a Spider-Man fan,
Right, at all.
apparently. But I hope we see Miles Morales in the live action at some point. Like, have Peter Parker be like the main Spider-Man, but like also become a mentor or something.
Right.
It'd
But
be
hell
nice
yeah,
to
they,
see.
they they definitely alluding to it from part one. I hope they like really
Then again,
make that pay off.
how mad would you be if they just save the animated stuff for Peter, or I mean for Miles, and then have live action for Peter? So like you know, his powers work better probably animated,
Yeah. The
and that
electricity
way
and
you're not
disappearing.
and that way you're not like detracting his importance.
Right. But of course,
Because
everybody is clamoring for Miles Morales to be in the MCU.
oh no, for sure. Because but the problem is finding someone who could probably portray him pretty well. There's people like Lil Nas X who are like, I want to be Miles Morales. So I'm thinking, if
Man,
they
hell no.
no, keep you can't act. I've seen your music videos,
Yeah, man, hell no.
but yeah, I can't wait for the second and the third one, which I didn't even think was a sentence I'd ever say until now.
Right. Part one and part two.
But yeah, what would you give it as a rating?
A fucking 9.5 for sure.
Okay, well, that's where me and you are different on that one. Um, because this is like the same thing for me as like um damn, what was the movie I said that like the casting was okay, it was like mm, I'm gonna have to give it like a 9.7.
Nice.
It's not a 10, but it is damn near close to it.
Right. Nah,
Like
it's definitely a dope fucking movie.
now here's the awesome part. We're gonna see the second movie. It'll be out in less than a year now.
Yep. What
Like
is
10
October
months.
2nd?
Yeah,
October
10
7th,
months.
2022.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Imagine if that comes out in 2022, right? Like October, and then the third one comes out in like July of 2023.
Couple of months after that'll be dope.
It would be their version of The Matrix 2 and 3 except done better.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
But, that's next time anyone hears from us, uh it'll be the Christmas episode.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
We would have been seeing what movies we would have saw like The Matrix. No, definitely Spider-Man.
Okay, so actually, um you know what? No, I'll talk about. I'll have you stay in Discord for a minute after we get done with this, because we're about to wrap it up, and I'll tell you actually what's gonna actually happen probably with this stuff.
All right.
But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed our last two episodes talking about Spider-Man. Um, this will actually probably be up on the 14th instead of the 9th, like I said it would, because we'll just do a Christmas episode after Christmas. Like the like couple days after Christmas, because why not? It's still technically considered.
Right, sweet.
Um, but yeah, I enjoyed having you all here today and listening to us. I enjoyed discussing what we thought of the Spider-Man movies. You know,
Yep.
definitely tell us what you thought about them, and don't be afraid to just roast us and tell us that we're wrong. Because I love all opinions and I like to laugh. So make me laugh, roast me. You won't do it, but hope you guys have a wonderful holiday and Christmas if you do celebrate it, because this is probably going to be the last episode that you'll hear that it's being recorded um, close to it. By next time that we hear from us, we'll have seen Spider-Man.
Yep.
And that'll probably not come out until Christmas Eve at most. So hope you guys have a good weekend and stay
Absolutely,
safe
man.
out there. All right, peace out.
Peace.